Okay, we're on transmission number 2. It's another 65 tranny. So this one actually is a full-on 65 tranny, whereas the other one wasn't. So I'm going to take this apart the rest of the way and see what's wrong with it. It's supposed to have a bad gear set in it for sure. And it's all screwed up. They sent me some of the bad parts here to look at. Most of them are supposed to be good, but we'll see. So anyway, we're going to get this thing apart, clean everything all up, and get an idea of what we got to work on here. So, another surprise. They all are anyway. Alright, let's get this where you can kind of see what I'm doing. You don't want to go prying up and down on these because you'll rip out the inside out of it. So you just use your puller here. This is a fancy bridge type puller, but a regular 2-jaw puller will work too. Definitely is tight. It's not coming. Slipping past. Give it a bite on it. Try it again. Yep, we're pulling up again. So this one's on there pretty stinking hard. So that's going to take a different trick to get that one off. Bending my puller. Puller's getting bent a little bit. Done that before, that's why it's all blue. Heated up to bend it. That's probably why that's still on there. It didn't come off. Something written down there. Not sure what that says. Great, socket's missing. That's why they make tools. That's pretty fancy. Oh, nice. Hole's all chipped up. Okay, what do we got in here? It's just a genuine Harley kicker gear. See how it's heat treated and it doesn't eat up like that aftermarket one I just did? A lot better. You want to make sure it's tight on the shaft though and not loose and wobbling. Looks good. Nice little chunko here on the bottom of the cover. So I don't think there's any reason to pull the arm apart. The finger in here looks good, and the clip and everything is good, so there's no reason to take the arm off. Of course it doesn't want to come off anyway, so it's a good reason to leave it on. Okay, that stuff all looks good. Let me get the lid off here. Got one screw holding it on. That's a hand shift top. Good. Real bike. Got a hand shift lever on it. It is a 4-speed, not a 3-speed reverse too, so that's good. Looks like it's pretty good in there. Didn't want to shift though. Might have some chips or something in the gears, so I'll have to clean that real good. It doesn't look like there's anything in there, but something's keeping it from rolling. So we might have to take this all the way apart. I'm going to try not to, but we might have to. We'll see. We're definitely going to have to clean it up good though. Let's see. Obviously there's a helicoil on that. You got a helicoil in this hole right here, so that's why it's leaking. You can see the helicoil sticking through the top. So that needs to be dealt with. Yeah, looks like they didn't put it in there correctly. It's coming out. I don't like, you don't put helicoils in transmission because all they do is leak oil straight through past the helicoil. So you either go to oversized plugs or you weld the holes up and start over. Same on the studs here on the cases. You can helicoil the kicker covers because they're sealed surfaces, but not these here. They're not sealed 100%. And that looks like a crack right there. No. Casting. Looks like a crack, but it's not. That's good. Be a bad place to have a crack. This one's not all chewed up like the last guy. Case has definitely been chewed up. You can see that in there. Down inside of here you can see all the shrapnel and stuff from that. So that brace is worn out. Here's the other one over here. You can see it. So that one doesn't look worn out. It's pretty chewed up too. So those are both going to be bad. So these, we got to knock these out. So let's drive them out with a hammer. So you use your driver right here, you beat it out with a hammer. So there you go. Definitely used. Case hole looks good. Now we knock out this one. might fit. Use lots of light hits instead of big hits. You can see how nice and chewed up that one is. Definitely bad. Okay, this one here has the factory locking tab in here, which is this little piece for the seal spacer here. Now I usually use the later seal spacer, which is what year is it? Late 77 to early 79, and it eliminates the leak because you don't have this in there. So that means you can't leak oil up through that little groove. So that's why I don't use that. Now this case seal looks like a real nice seal. It's in there good, probably does not leak. But to clean all this out, I got to pull it out because it's had a lot of shrapnel through this tranny. So I have to take it out, which is going to destroy it. No choice, I got to get it out. So you need to knock that out with a long punch, or use another barber like this, but a bigger one. So we'll find one over here in the drawer that's bigger. Perfect. So I just knock this one out with a hammer. So that's how that comes out. It's got the factory cork in there, which seals the outside of the seal, so it doesn't leak out the outside of the seal. This case is really good, but a lot of them get all screwed up here on the outside where you got a bunch of seal pullovers in there and wedges and other crap in there to yank out with. So the cork's job is to seal that area because it hits up against the back here. It hits right here on the slip right here, and that seals it. So the outside of the seal doesn't really matter. It still leaks past the inner part of the seal though. So now you take this out. See how chewed up this surface here is. This one's not too bad. Then you check over here where the actual seal lip is and see how nice it is. And this one actually looks pretty good. So it doesn't look like this one got chewed up any in the debris. So we'll see if the customer wants to upgrade though. Yeah, this was definitely the James seal, which is a good one. But now it's junk. Once you take them out, you can't reuse them. Now you can make sure everything is no shrapnel back in here. So you want to know what shrapnel there is in there. Not too much, but a little bit of stuff in there. Pretty clean. Yep. Got to make sure. Shrapnel goes in your new bearings and it will destroy them. Okay. Look at the case for any obvious cracks or anything like that. A lot of times you can feel a raised surface if there's a crack, like something pushed it from the other side, like a broken tooth. This has a lot of casting marks in there, look like cracks, but they're not. Right along the edge here on the bottom, you can see a line in there. It's not a crack, it looks like one, but it isn't. It's just a casting. So I see no evidence of any wrongdoing, so that's good. Nice cherry case. Looks like it did chew up the case a little bit over here though. Yeah, it definitely did chew that up. So in here there was a raised shoulder on the case and it's all chewed up through here. You can see it's all chewed. So it didn't help that part any. This side over here didn't have a raised shoulder, just had a recess where the bushing went. It's still good here. So the only real damage on this case is right over in here. So we'll have to clean this up with a little Dremel, get the broken metal off, get it to clean metal, and then figure out what we're going to do to it. So there you go. Alright, interruptions. Alright, we're back. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and clean the gasket surface off here and see if there's any see if there's any issues here that come across. When you're cleaning stuff, that's a good time to look for stuff because you're concentrating on one little small area at a time. As you're scraping, at least you should be if you're doing the job right. And you want to make sure you don't put your hands in front of a scraper because they cut you. So this is the kind of scraper you're using, and I keep these razor sharp. So they'll definitely cut the hell out of you if you're not careful. A little bit of a raised edge right along that edge there. Okay. Grab my dull file. It's well broken in. Knock off the high spots. All files have a curve to them, so you can hear this one. You know, it's kind of digging in. You flip it over. That sounds different. It's flatter. Because this is on the flat part of the curve. This is on the edge where you're digging in on the sides. So you're digging on the outside of the case here. Where this part of the file you're cutting when you want to. It's a fairly dull file, so it doesn't really cut too much one way or the other, which is good because we don't want to be scarring up the surfaces. Alright. Check the kicker side over here while we're at it. Appears to have all the studs in here. They all look fairly good so far. You want to try to get all this old gasket sealer off so that you're not trying to stick new sealer on top of the old sealer. Using your gasket scraper, you want to make sure you're not digging it in either. So that's why I reshape the tips of these things to make them the shape I want. See from the side view, you can see how it's pretty sharp in there. So this one's already getting dull. Time for a sharpening job here again. It's a little bit dull, but it'll still cut the hell out of me. I like these long scrapers because you really push hard with the palm of your hand. It really puts some pressure on stuff. And you got good control. You can twist it, move it around a little bit, do whatever you need to do. Stupid razor blades, you don't have a lot of control over them. I don't like them. You can't really push that hard with them either. Like everything, they have their uses though. So make sure I keep a stud between me and my palm there. Plus I'm not scraping real hard, so I don't have to worry about me getting myself. Alright. Let me Take your file and knock off the high spots. Again, you get a different file when I flipped it over. Okay. This hole here is pretty beat up right here. So knock the edge off that. You want to hit it from several different directions so you don't scar up the other side of the case you want to be cutting on. You also try to push more wherever you want to cut also. So you can see where I'm cutting only on the circle around the hole. I'm not digging inside the cases over here. That's what you want to be doing, only cutting where you want to cut. This does a little loose too. Okay, that's close enough. Okay, now you want to look at your bump stop here for your kicker. Make sure it's not chewed up or broken or damaged. It all looks good. Appears to be tight, not moving. So that one stud's a little bit loose, it's moving. I don't know if you can see it, but hear it moving back and forth. So later on I'll take my capillary action Loctite, my 290, and I'll stick that on top of the outside of the stud here. It'll soak in there and seal it up. Keep it from moving. That's after I clean all the oil out of it. Okay, so except for the drain plug, this looks pretty good. Check the speedo hole over here. Good. Looks like somebody cut it right here for frame clearance. When you run a big sprocket on the motor, it gets close in here sometimes. Alright, so overall the case looks pretty good. We only got a couple things to worry about. So now we need to get that helicoil out. So should be able to put like a pair of needle nose in there and just unscrew it, I think. Pair of dikes maybe. Try our dikes. Get a bite on it. Moves, but not enough. I want to try to rotate it out. I can pull it out, but that could damage the threads too. So. Rotate it out. There we go. So I just spun it right out. It came out. So that was hanging 2 threads out of the case. So that means it only had 2 threads in the case. So that's not too good. So that's going to have to be looked into. See, that's the problem with helicoil. Let's see, it's a very short hole there. It's not very deep, so that's why you should never helicoil that thing. But The other problem is it's the size of a repair already. I have oversized drain plugs I use, which are 9/16. And this is already out to 5/8, almost. So that means you'd have to go out past the 5/8. You have to go to 11/16. That's too damn big. So the only way I can fix this hole is from welding it up and starting over, or going to some real massive insert. See, normally I use my drain plugs here. Dorman number. See that in the light? I'm not sure. So these are 9/16 fine thread. When you have a stripped out 1/2-inch coarse bolt like this is down here, basically the hole in this is what the tap drill is for your 9/16. So you just run a 9/16 tap through it, and then you're done. You got a thread that's good. You tap this down, you're locked in. You can either use this fancy seal they got, or you can just put goop on it. A lot of times you can put a little O-ring in here, down in here a little bit in this groove, but I usually don't like doing that. I usually just use, I either use this seal here or I use a solid copper one, and I put goop on it and run it down with that. So I can try putting the 9/16 in here and see what happens, but I don't think there's going to be much thread area. So I don't think it's going to work too good. If I go to a 5/8, I'm not sure. This is a 13 and 5/8 is 18. And I forget what coarse 5/8 is. But it's not the same as this thread, so that means you won't be being able to use the thread that's in there at all. So that's going to be a problem. So I'll have to figure out when we're doing that. I don't particularly want to screw around with it too much, so more likely I'm just going to get pissed off and I'm going to just V it out and weld it up solid and start over. That's probably what I'm going to do. Otherwise it's just going to leak, which is not good. Okay, everything else on here looks fairly decent. So we're good with the case. Okay, now we get to look at the rest of it. Get your tools out of the way. Okay, now for the surprises. What are we dealing with? Okay, right off the bat, we got a bad shift work shaft. They obviously cut this to get it out. It's also pretty jammed up with grit or something inside of the bushing there. So that's probably why they cut it. Looks like the shift fork's already got a pretty good chew-up mark going on it, so might as well replace it. It's still good all through here though. Those are wear marks, but they're not worn in. You could reuse this, but it's, you know, you already get the tip worn off, so unless you're being really cheap, just put a new one in it. Okay, here's an older one, and this is probably the original one that was in it. And see, it's worn on this one side only, and everything else looks pretty good on it. That's for the other one though. Lots of baggies. Guess I can put the bad parts in the bag. Get a good use out of it. Okay, I got a drift punch here. Go ahead and knock out the shift fork shaft out of the shift fork. pops out. So obviously this is bad. Here's our shift dog. Appears to be good. It's not too radiused off here on the edges. They're still pretty nice and sharp. It's definitely gritty from all the grit, but that doesn't hurt it. And it looks like the inside of the shift fork goes in here. So it goes inside of that. It doesn't appear to be all chewed up or anything either. So that should be a good part. This fork's only got the little wear on the very tip, so this one's probably usable. Yeah, it's got some wear over here though, pretty heavy. So, yeah, we might replace it too. We'll let the owner decide what he wants to do. So these old original ones aren't worn too bad. Probably better than the new ones. Okay, lock tab look good. So these are obviously going to be junk. Okay, here's our Andrews shift dog. This one appears to be in really good condition. It looks to be made the same way as the old original Harley one here too. So we got two good ones to choose from, so that's good. Looks like you kept, these must be old original bushings or an extra pair. Not sure. So we'll have to figure that out too. Locks look pretty good still. Let's reuse them. Don't know what that's for. Don't need it. Do need that. These are all the tranny top screws. Your nut looks good. Another shift dog. This one's got more wear on it, but it still isn't really that bad. So that's the third one of these, so we don't need three of them. That one's the worst one by far, so we're not going to use that. And there's our shift bushing. That goes up on top of our, right here on our fork right here. And that's supposed to be free rotating on there, and it's not. So there's something full of grit or something on that. So we'll clean all those up and double check everything. Okay, here's our high gear. Appears to be brand new, there's no marks in it. Yeah, no marks in here either, and none on the gear, so this must be a brand new one, or it's got one got almost no mileage on it. Got assembled and never really ran. Not a lot of room for a seal up in here either, but there is some room. So that obviously is a good part. Here's our main shaft. This looks like the Andrews one. Yep. Says Andrews on it right through here. See how it's burnished pretty good through here from the bushing on there. Almost looks like it didn't have enough oil on it. You also see all the heat over here. Same deal, looks like there's no oil on anything. It's a little bit of a wear mark, but not too bad. A little bit of clearance on that, but that'll work. So probably pretty usable. Probably throw my external hone on here and clean it up a little bit. Make sure it's no high spots right through here. It could be used. Bushing's got a good tooth out, and I usually like them a little bit tighter than that, but definitely runnable. There's his old main shaft. Got some rust in here where the surface is, and it's got a little bit of wear, but not too bad right here. But it's definitely worn, so dealing with it better. You want to make sure they're the same length. They are. Always helps to make sure you got the right ones in there. So this is an old original shaft, and still usable condition. It's got a little bit of wear here, maybe a couple thou wear in there. That's it. Not too bad. So that's a backup piece. Here's our counter shaft. It's got something here on the shaft. Almost looks like dried up Loctite where the bearing surface is. Here at there. Kind of flakes off too. I'm not sure what all that is. Could be old dried up tape. I'm not sure. This is old original one. You can see how it's pitting in here. So this is no good, but the nut's good, so keep the nut. Might need that. So this is no good. There's our bearing retainer. There's another one right here. Probably a new bearing. A little rough feeling, probably got a lot of grit in it. So we can pop one of these dust shields off here, clean it out, and it might be still good, or you can just put a new one in it. I'm sure the customer's going to want to put a new one in it. Could be reused. This is probably a new one here. So we can either use his original one or put the new one in it. Always like original parts, so just knock the bearing out. I'm not sure if that's original or not. It's pretty nice. Hard to tell. They're both pretty clean. They both look like new. This one's got darker metal on it, so I think it's old. Keep that one. There goes. Here's our push rod. Definitely the early one. Looks straight. Roll straight. That's a good sign. Next thing you want to check is make sure the bushing inside of the main shaft here is good. So you stick it up in there and then feel it. And it should be relatively tight. See, it doesn't move very much when you're this far out. It barely moves. So that's good. Okay. There's the actual drop bearing. You got to push down on this against the inside here. If you feel any pitting or roughness, it's no good. This one here feels really nice. Rotates good. Looks like an old original one. It's too nice to be a repop. Looks good. Okay. Last baggie of parts. Ratchet plate. Looks like it's a little bit bent for some reason. You can definitely see all the old shrapnel is still attached to it. Usable. There's another lock tab. That one I'm not going to reuse. And there's another one. This is a new one. There's a nut. Kicker spring and kicker gear. This is the real fat one, the odd tooth one. Got a real wear mark right here. It's getting on the ratchet mechanism, but Should be alright. It's also got a weird wear mark around the top of the bushing there. I'm not sure what that's from. Here's your ratchet gear here. Want to make sure those fit together nicely and got a good fit. Appear to be pretty good. This one looks original. This has been there a long time. You can see all the rust in it. This is either a very old repop or an original. Wouldn't be surprised if it was original. It's pretty good. Wheeler. Another nut. There's third gear washer. Looks good. It goes in here like that. Not yet on that. Always feel the bags, make sure there's nothing in them. Well, I'm pretty sure that that's bad. There might be history there. So I'm thinking he's going to need a new speedo drive unit. Just probably replace this. You probably could still reuse it, but it's starting to look pretty crappy. Screws look good. Now the large tapered screws here, these are real high angle taper. They go in here. They go like that. They'll just play it in. The ones that hold the ratchet lid or the shift top down. In '65, they went to a different angle. They went like this is like 82 degrees, I think, and these ones are probably more like 60 degrees. So if you look at them, they're different. Now on the earlier lids, they ran the same tall angle like that for the ratchet lid or for the shifter top too. So in '65, they went to the Allen head and went to this style screw. That's one way you tell what the screws are, or what the lids are over there, by what the countersinks are in the holes. There is no date codes I see in them. Okay, now we look at our gear here for main shaft. We'll look at all the teeth flanking, make sure there's no damage on either direction. See right there is damage. You can see the roughness, rusty surface there. That's where it's starting to come apart. And you can also see where it's starting to pit out right here too. See the little pits at the end of the teeth in there? So this gear is getting bad. Still usable, but if you want good parts, this is not a good one. So that's a questionable part. Depends on what the customer wants to do. Okay, our third gear here. It's got nice sharp dogs. No wear marks on the inside. And we look at the teeth again. And see what we look at. You look at both sides of the flanks. This side's okay. Get a little bit of pitting started. Flip it around, look on the other side. This is more the wear side on this one. Just look in the light and you're just looking for pits and things that don't look right. So this one here is also starting to pit, so it's getting used. So these two here go together like that on the main shaft. High gear goes right here, at your main shaft set of gears. So this one's new. These are used, so, and they could be better condition. Okay, now we look at our counter shaft. This is your whole counter shaft assembly. So you got low, second, third, fourth. And right off the bat, you can see a bunch of pitting right here on the flank of the tooth. And it looks kind of rusty on the inside also. It might be just dirty grease. This one looks like it's dirty grease. Yeah, it's not rust, it's just grease. The bearing surfaces actually look pretty good in here. So it's actually not bad. The problem is the gear is coming apart on this side. So that's going to keep putting metal into your tranny. And it's going to make a little bit of noise too. So it's on the load side of the tooth. You can see it in every tooth. So this is bad. Second gear, you look at the dogs, make sure they're not too rounded. And you look at the gear teeth again. So not too bad that way. And the load direction, they're A little bit of wear on them, but they're not pitting yet. Yep, spoke too soon. So there's your rust pitting going again there. Like I said, that's from rust. Once it starts to rust and you drive it, it starts pitting, it starts flaking, and it starts coming apart. And then the whole transmission takes a crap with all the metal in it. So all of this looks like a relatively low mile tranny, but it's got rust damage, which is causing it to fail. Okay, here's our low gear. Bushing slides in real nice and free, that's good. Same deal, we look at our teeth. Obviously if there's any kind of nicks or chips out of them, they're junk right off the bat. You don't want to risk running one that's already got chips in it because it just gets worse. That will blow the tranny apart when teeth are breaking off. This one is not as bad as the other ones. It has more wear on it, but it doesn't have rust pitting in it. Right, just starting right there a little bit. 1, 2. Dogs all look good. So this side here looks a lot better than the other ones. And we got 2 low gear shift dogs to choose from. And they both have wear. Oh, that's got a lot of wear there. So, see this side here, you got some wear on it, not too bad. This side looks pretty good. That side looks pretty good. This side's all worn out. See, it has a really large radius on every one of them. So this one's bad. This one over here, there's your radius there. This side's pretty sharp. They look pretty equal but worn on that one side. This side over here, same thing. It's about equal on both sides. So this is definitely a used one, but it's not super worn out. That one's getting a little heavier on that one dog. Yeah. So this one you put toward low gear, put this side toward second, because low gear is not used as much as the second gear is. So this one is usable. It's got a little bit of wear on it. Not too awful bad, but it does have wear. So we'll put that in the questionable pile. So now we got 2 piles of parts. We got parts that are not first class condition by far, but decent and usable. And then we got the stuff that's actually really good, and we can use these parts no problem. And this stuff here we can reuse too. So now we gotta get a hold of the customer and see what they want to do on these gears here. We already know what these look like, they're good. So basically everything on the counter shaft is used, and everything on the main shaft is used. So there's only one gear that's not bad. That'd be the brand new high gear. So we gotta see if he wants to buy a whole new gear set, or what he wants to do. Just put this stuff all together, make sure it all works and put it together. You know, the teeth that look like these ones, the counter shaft's the worst one because it's pitting out pretty good already on the drive dog, because this drives all the other gears. But you probably got a good 10, at least 10,000 miles left on this gear set if you want to use it. As long as you use real thick oil in there, you should be good. You know, use some 85 140 or something thick like that, 90 140. The 140 is the key, real thick. So thickness will give you cushion, makes the gears live longer, and the wear marks won't be as bad. They probably had thin oil in this stuff anyway, that's why they wore out, or they had no oil. So it's hard to tell. Alright, so that's what it looks like. So we got a kind of a rough idea what the overall condition of the tranny is. So I'll get a hold of the customer and see what they want to do. And we'll go from there. So there you go.